Hi guys, I'm here with Shaundra Scott. She is an attorney, so we are getting ready to learn some knowledge, right? Actually, I'm here because I saw an article Monday and I sent it to Shaundra and it was talking about basically how um, gerrymandering, whereas judges used to be able to oversee or have say so in voting rights and gerrymandering, and the Supreme Court's looking at taking that away. It's actually called, let me get this right, it's called the French election theory. It's also called independent state doctrine. And what I have Shaundra here to talk a little bit more about it and why every vote counts going down the ticket.
Thank you so much for having me, and I'm so excited to be here to share this information. I think it's really, really important information. As Kelly said, my name is Shaundra. I'm an attorney. I do a lot of work in civil rights and politics, and just wanted to come and share some knowledge that I have because it's so much more than just going out and making sure that we can vote. And so what Kelly is talking about is something that is being considered called the independent state doctrine. It has stemmed from a North Carolina case in regards to redistricting, and the Supreme Court in North Carolina determined that maps were not drawn correctly, and so they had them redrawn. Well, Republicans have made the argument that courts should not have a say-so in what is being done legislatively in regards to elections, and that is what is being considered at the states, at the federal Supreme Court, state, our South, our U.S. Supreme Court, sorry, that's what's being considered. And if that is passed or granted in this court case, then legislators will be able to make decisions in regards to elections. So if there's changes in election laws, etc., there will be no oversight from the court. And so this is going to dramatically and drastically change the landscape of our democracy.
Yeah. So if a state has a high ratio of one particular party in the Senate or the House, talking once again about state elected officials, then that could also skew how districts are drawn. Maybe?
Yeah, I mean, it could skew how districts are drawn. It could skew so many things. It could, changes in election law. It will could possibly make it difficult for us to be able to vote by mail, or make additional requirements on whether or not you need X amount of witnesses to sign your absentee ballot. So things like that are going to be serious conversations. And if you have one party that is a majority or favors it, in a particular House or Senate, then you're definitely going to have laws, rules, and regulations that are skewed toward that particular party.
Wow, wow. And think about this, that could impact the vote or the candidacy of local candidates, maybe even like a mayoral candidate or a councilman, something along those lines, because their votes are now transferred or transposed or not accepted. It could actually endanger, once again, like I said, local officials.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, I know people hear about voting, and I know we focus a lot on our presidential elections, but this is the reason why the midterms are so important, because of the simple fact that our laws in our states are made at the local level. Like there's this definite separation between what's happening with our federal elected officials in our state. A lot of this stuff is, ground up. We are not going to get changes in our North Carolinas, our South Carolinas, whatever the case may be, without making sure that we have elected officials in position to make those decisions for us, or to at least make decisions that benefit us. And so one of the things that we're going to need to do is we need to make sure that we are checking the scorecard of the senators and representatives that we put in office between elections, so that we can know who to vote for again, because they're the ones that are going to be advancing or supporting or sponsoring certain bills that are going to affect us here on the ground level.
Right. I also think that, like, when you say checking the scorecards, if there aren't enough individuals within a political party, a lot of things can not be passed or be watered down. For instance, let's say somebody from a particular party, Republican, Democrat, whatever, wants to put forth a bill, right? Mm-hmm. And what they're asking for could be a 10. They're asking for what's very comprehensive to meet this or to address the situation, a very comprehensive solution. But if there's a large majority of another party watering down the bill,
Mhm.
what you get may be like a 2 out of the 10 or 20% out of the 100% that you were originally requesting.
Mhm.
So I think also, I think with regards to one, with regards to the past, but two, with regards to the comprehensiveness or the totality of what's being put in place. Is it enough to move the needle, or is it something that, like a Band-Aid that can quickly be removed?
That is so important. We're seeing this happen in real time at the federal level. So whatever is happening at the federal level is happening at the state. So we have all of these bills that have been, on standby, for example, that deal with um, the law enforcement and things like that. Well, we want to get to a bill, but then we get stuck because one party does not like the fact that um, the conversation about qualified immunity. So things like that, where we can get hung up because one party doesn't like one thing, prevents us from passing the bill. And that goes for anything as well as on the state level. I mean, now we just had Roe v. Wade overturned at the federal level. That was a right, everyone had their right to decide what it is that they want to do. Now that that's being overturned, the decision is now left up to all of the independent states. And so each state can make their own rules and regulations. And what you'll see is, like, for example, Kansas turned out to say that that's not what they want, but that's only going to happen if people are paying attention to all of these little things that are happening, and not just only solely focused on going out to vote, paying attention to all of these things that are happening behind the scenes.
At the state level, at the state level, because they're the ones that are going to decide whether or not women have a right to choice. The other thing that I wanted to ask is talking about this from a an electoral candidate position. Well, what about the process of getting to that electoral candidate? What about the poll sites? What about votes that are, please forgive me, voters who are questioned, whether or not they're, signature authentication, or whether or not they have the proper ID or address change or anything like that? How can people get in the process to make sure that every vote counts?
That's a great question.
Of course. People are real.
I feel that we have to pay attention to that particular thing more now than ever. There's so many things that have happened as we were going into 2020. There was a consent decree that prevented, that was in result of, Republican Party doing certain things that would affect the electoral process. And so a consent decree was put in place to say, hey, you can't intimidate people at the polls, this, that, and the third. And so now that that has expired, it wasn't renewed, we're going to see a lot more activity. We're going to see a lot more activity. And so what we're seeing now is that all parties are now doing recruitments for what Kelly's referring to as poll workers and poll observers. And your poll worker, you can become a poll worker through the state board of elections or your county board of elections, and you will get trained through them. I think it's maybe a day if it's that long. There is a very small stipend that you get for being a poll worker. And what the poll worker does is they're inside during early vote and during the day of election to make sure the precinct is running smoothly. So the machines are working, the lines are moving, there are just no snafus, that type of thing. Your poll observer, which is what also the parties are also recruiting for, are your volunteers. And these are people who are going to be inside with those poll workers, monitoring the election process. So they're going to be watching to see if anybody's going to get turned away unfairly, or told that they can't vote, or if there is any type of intimidation going on outside the polls that may be, causing people to be afraid to stop to vote. So those folks are there to keep track, keep a tally of what's going on, and also report that information to a team of lawyers that are probably going to be working for any respective party at that time to address any type of issue.
Excellent. If somebody wanted to find out more about those types of positions, since you're the lawyer, the smart one, is there any way that you could help give them any kind of information, or is there any way you could share
Absolutely. I will share my email address. I know Kelly will probably post this along with the video, but it's Shaundra Y Scott at gmail.com. ShaundraYScott at gmail.com. And you can reach out to me for more information on poll workers, poll observers. I do know that there are probably volunteer positions for attorneys if we need them, or if they're needed, as well as hotline workers. I know the parties will have respective hotlines for folks who want to call and get more information or just clarity about any type of thing. And where's your polling precinct? Who are my candidates? Who am I voting for? Who's running? That type of stuff. I would definitely encourage you to reach out to me and definitely do your due diligence on that and to make sure you're knowledgeable before you're going to the polls.
So what you're saying is you need volunteers. You said it a couple times. What she's saying, guys, is she needs volunteers. So Shaundra, thank you so much for everything. I think that, in the future, let's just do some little tidbits, some updates on things that are going on, and just to make sure that people are abreast of it. Not a whole lot because, because sometimes it can be overwhelming when, you're not, when you're not ready for it. So just like little tidbits along the way, share insight as to what's going on in the political arena, guys. Thank you so much for everything, Shaundra.
Thank you for having me. I do appreciate it. I love being here and just sharing information. I look forward to coming back as things progress.
Okay. What she was really trying to say is she loves talking to me. She's just a little shy. She didn't want to say the whole thing. But anyway, so once again, Shaundra, thank you so much. You are a blessing. And guys, stay tuned. Talk to you later.